The news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Gary.
And what a wonderful weather weekend we had.
My goodness, lots of sunshine. It was a beautiful weekend, and we got some nice dry weather for much of the week, maybe a few rain chances here and there. But the big story today, that wildfire smoke we're tracking. Let's take a look at the air quality alerts that are in effect for pretty much all of central New York. The color in gray here means an air quality alert is in effect. You can see pretty much every spot here in New York State under that alert. So what does this mean for air quality concerns? Well, we actually, some spots have reached the unhealthy category. This is the first time in quite a while we've hit that. Now, this is not extremely unhealthy, which would be in the purple category here, but it's one of those things today which basically means you want to limit your time outdoors, no matter if you are usually sensitive to air quality or particulates in the atmosphere. So just a heads up today, we'll have more on that wildfire smoke coming up in a few minutes, but just a heads up for that haze early today. Temperatures starting out this morning in the mid-50s to low 50s, radar looking dry as well, and the next 12 hours, lots of sunshine, temperatures in the low 80s. We're going to track, again, that wildfire smoke and when the next chance of rain arrives. Been quite a dry stretch coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. We have a couple of traffic alerts to tell you about this morning. The first in the town of Frankfort. Higby Road will be closed from Country Mile Road up.
This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise. Time now is 5:10. Hope you all had a great weekend. Weather was just fantastic, with the nicest weekends all summer long. And this nice stretch of weather continues for much of this week. Yeah, we have some rain chances here and there, but those chances are isolated and at least brief. We'll talk about those chances coming up in a few minutes here. But first, heading outside this morning, you might be encountering some patchy fog, but the main story today, aside from the sunshine, is that wildfire smoke, and air quality alerts again are in effect for a lot of the area. There are some pockets of reduced visibility due to either not only the haze but also the fog. So we have two different particulates causing reduced visibility this morning. Roadways, though, no accidents to report of, and just again today, some patchy fog to deal with early today, and this afternoon. Yeah, still, you've got some effects with the hazy conditions this evening. We'll track how long this wildfire smoke lasts and when those rain showers arrive, coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. What gorgeous weekend weather for all of the events happening all weekend long. Let's take a quick...
Omni, we've got your back.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everybody. Time now 5:16, and in case you missed the start of the show, a recap of the air quality alerts in effect. Again, the air quality, or the AQI index, is at 153 in Utica today, which puts it above the unhealthy category. First time in a while we've hit this level here in New York State. So it's not an extremely high number, but you will at least somewhat notice the smoke outside, either through the smell. Obviously, the haze out there today, a lot thicker than in previous times we've seen wildfire smoke. We take a look at where the effect is. It's all coming from some wildfires up in central to north central Canada. And anytime we get northwest winds in the summertime, usually that means dry weather, but also it can carry in some of that smoke into our area. And that's the case today. And it's really going to be lingering over the next few days as those winds shift around here and there. Eventually, later on this week, we're going to get more of a south wind kicking in. That's going to push some of it away, but at least for the foreseeable future, today, parts of tomorrow, it's just going to be a bit hazy out there. A muggy start, temperatures in the 50s today. And aside from the wildfire smoke, it's going to be a completely dry day. Temperatures climbing into the mid-80s with just overall pretty typical summertime conditions for early August. So outside today, things are looking pretty pleasant. So in the event of a situation like this with a lot of wildfire smoke in the atmosphere, what can you do? Well, in situations where you have your car, air conditioning, or even just regular air, there's a recirculation button. If you don't know what it is, it's the one that has an arrow that basically looks like it's rotating. You hit that, it'll recirculate the air and it will not draw in outside air. So that's beneficial, especially if air quality outside is a little bit on the unhealthy side. Still limit your excessive time outdoors. It's not you have to stay inside the whole time, but just limit extraneous activities outside on a day like today. So you look at the skycast today, temperatures go from the 50s up into the 80s by this afternoon. Then by tonight, lows fall into the low 60s. A few clouds tomorrow morning, with get a few clouds by tomorrow afternoon, wispy clouds, even an isolated downpour possible heading out to the east. Wednesday, same story. Dry start. You can see some pop-up downpours and showers, primarily elevation-based, north of the Mohawk Valley. And then your 7-day forecast, 80s today and tomorrow. Isolated storm chances increase. Then by Thursday, isolated shower. A dry out again into the low to mid-80s by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not too bad of a stretch. Again, we'll keep a close eye on that wildfire smoke, plus again, those rain chances as we head into the next few days. But overall, it's been quite a beautiful stretch of weather, Gary.
Keep it going.
Keep it going, Gary.
Keep it going. The time right now is 5:20. Still ahead on this morning once again. And thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Libitor. Another nice morning out there on this Monday. And Eric, this is one amazing stretch.
Yeah, and this weekend was top-tier weather material. And even today, there's lots of sunshine. The only thing we're really tracking today is that wildfire smoke. And the latest on that air quality, we have just eclipsed the lower end of the unhealthy category, the red zone here. And it's been quite a while since we hit this one. And this is not alarms going, everyone panic and freak out. This is just basically saying to limit your time outdoors, at least limit strenuous activities outdoors, especially for those of you who are usually sensitive to particulates in the atmosphere, for example, conditions like asthma and whatnot. So it's just a heads up today. It's going to be hazy, and if you feel yourself having difficulty breathing, just stay inside. You can use air conditioning, recirculation, and just limit outdoor air, at least for the next day or so. But we'll talk about that, of course, in a few minutes. For now, it's not too bad out, 50s early this morning. Radar looking dry. And today, we're going to see the temperatures climb into the mid-80s with plenty of sunshine. Now, on top of that smoke we're tracking, there's also a few isolated shower and storm chances the next couple of days. We'll track those coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. It is the start of a...
This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise. Everybody on this Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. I mean, the weather was fantastic all weekend long, and the weather looks pretty dry today. But, of course, the only thing we're really focused on is that wildfire smoke. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. We'll put that aside and focus on this photo right here. A great shot of some valley fog taken in Fairfield by Mark Minter. Look at this shot right here. This is one of the nicest photos we've seen in quite a while here of fog itself. Yeah, it almost looks like an ocean or some hills out in the background there. But yeah, this was on Friday with all that thick fog. So thank you for this great submission, Mark. And if you have a photo like this you'd like to share, including maybe the haze impacting the moon, if it looks a little orange or even yellow, plus even some hazy sunshine, anything that talks about the conditions during the day, any great scene like this right here, send it to the link right there on the top of your screen. WKTV.com/weather/picks. Gary?
Eric, thanks. A man from Wyoming is facing
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everybody. We're tracking a few things today. For one, plenty of sun. This nice stretch of weather continues, but we take a look outside from our Cavi Tower cameras. A few things we're looking at here. So there's fog trying to form in the valley on top of haze from wildfire smoke, and it gets this really unique aspect here where you see some of that haze near the valley and then haze up in the sky, almost as if there's widespread fog and haze across the region. So we can see that outside today. It is impacting air quality on the fringe of the unhealthy category. It's not very high to the point where it's extremely unhealthy, but on a day like today, it's one of those things where you want to limit your time outdoors or limit strenuous activities outdoors. Those of you who are unusually sensitive, you have medical conditions like asthma or whatnot, definitely limit your time outdoors today with that haze. And we can see where this wildfire smoke is coming from. Of course, north central Canada over here is where those fires are coming from, and that northwest flow, which brings the dry weather, also can usher in that smoke. And it's going to be sticking around for the next day or so, including into early Wednesday. And in fact, we zoom in here. This is the effects throughout the day today and throughout tomorrow. So this is something that's going to be an early to midweek issue. Later on this week, it won't be nearly as much of an issue due to these south winds kind of whisking away some of that smoke. Still, though, it's 56 degrees outside today. Still a slightly muggy feel out there, too. And the temperatures starting out cooler this morning, climbing into the mid-80s. So it's a pretty typical summertime day, of course, aside from that haze. But with this haze, what can you do? Well, there are things like air conditioning in your cars, which can recirculate the air. Same thing as homes. If you close windows and turn it on, even the fan, it will use the air filter to recirculate and filter out the air. So you don't necessarily need the AC on entirely. But also limit excessive time outdoors. That's the key for days like today. Obviously, some of you have to work outside, but just don't take it too hard with some of the activities this afternoon. So today's highs in the low to mid 80s, plenty of sun. Tonight, few clouds working their way in. Tomorrow, isolated showers and downpours, mainly outside of central New York. One stray one might move in. Wednesday, a better shot for an isolated downpour will take place north of the Thruway. You can see right here, but again, much of the area remaining entirely dry. So aside from that, isolated storm chances tomorrow and Wednesday, a lingering shower Thursday, and it dries out again Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s with still a feel of summertime out there. August still continuing on with plenty of beautiful conditions. But still, again, today and tomorrow, we're keeping a very close eye on that wildfire smoke. We'll have the latest on air quality throughout the day, of course, on News Channel 2 at noon, later on this evening as well. We're keeping a very close eye on it. As of course, it could be dangerous.
Definitely keep an eye on that. Eric, thanks. Well, a 20-foot whale died.
The news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on this Monday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And we could not have asked for a better weekend this weekend. Holy moly.
It was gorgeous. Outdoors all weekend long. It was low humidity, sun shining. It was, again, probably the nicest weekends all summer long. Today, the sunshine continues, but we're tracking some wildfire smoke. Gary, let's take a look at these air quality alerts that have pretty much covered all of New York State. It's quite a while since we've seen this widespread of an air quality alert. And when it comes to the AQI, or Air Quality Index, the measurement that they use to determine how much pollutants, or basically how many pollutants are in the atmosphere, we have hit the unhealthy category. It's on the fringe of it. It's in between the unhealthy for some and unhealthy. But what does that mean? Now, it might be hard to read some of the text here. We try to fit it in as much as we can, but it basically says that pretty much all of you should limit your time outdoors. It doesn't mean you need to stay inside like the purple category is, but if you plan on doing, say, any outdoor strenuous activities, maybe hold off on doing that today. I know some of you work outside, you can't really avoid that, but just limit putting some excessive force in your job today. But here I am explaining how to do things. The main thing, though, today is this is not alarm sounding, everything going crazy type event. It's just a heads up that those of you, especially who are unusually sensitive to particulates in the atmosphere, you want to limit your time outdoors. So today it's in the 50s to start, some patchy fog, and it's pretty interesting seeing how the fog and the haze are influencing the skies today. It seems very ominous if you look outside, but again, this is nothing extremely concerning, just a heads up. Radar is dry. Next 12 hours show dry conditions, lots of sunshine, temperatures in the 80s. We're going to track how long that wildfire smoke sticks around, plus if any rain chances are in our near future, coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks again. The air quality alert remains in effect because of the wildfire smoke. And check this out right here. It caused hazy skies and lowered visibility and that orange sunset that you saw last night. And we have a couple of traffic alerts.
This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise. Time now is 5:11, or 6:11, I should say. I'm an hour behind here, but what a weekend it was. Sunshine, low humidity. It was great conditions for anything outdoors. Now today, it would be a nice day to spend a lot of time outdoors, but we're tracking some of that haze and wildfire smoke. In fact, look at this scene out here in Oneonta. The sun usually rises above that hill there. Now you can barely see it. Why is that the case? Well, you have any particles in the atmosphere, they scatter the light, especially smoke. And as the sun goes up in the sky, the red light you start to see, because that's the longer wavelengths, low energy. But then as the sun rises, and you get more of those colors peeking through that haze. So that's why it's difficult to see the sunrise this morning. And as we head throughout the day, we'll start to see it slowly peak out and gradually fade in. On top of that haze and wildfire smoke, we also have some patchy fog, making a quite an interesting scene out there with that haze. Still, though, no accidents to report of this morning. Heading outside today, patchy fog, temperatures in the 50s this afternoon, 80-degree temperatures and up. And that haze. We'll track the latest on that wildfire smoke, how long it lasts this week, and potential for rainfall the next couple of days. All that and more in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. What gorgeous weekend weather for all of the events happening all.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Beautiful weekend and plenty of sunshine today, but that smoke really putting an impact not only on some air quality, but also the visibility outside. Let's take a look at our tower cam again. I want to look at a few things going on in this image right here, and it's quite interesting, the setup here. So let's draw a little bit because I want to focus more on what's going on in this line heading right here and then heading over in that direction right there. That's fog. Above it is haze. Not too often do you see this combination, smoke and fog, in the early morning hours. So it creates this very ominous scene out there early today. And with that wildfire smoke, again, if you're just tuning in, it's in the unhealthy category, just over the unhealthy for some category, which in simpler terms means you want to limit time outdoors, limit strenuous activities outdoors. It doesn't mean to avoid being outdoors entirely, just to limit your amount of time outside. If we hit the purple category, that means you want to stay inside as much as possible, which we're not at that category, and I don't think we're going to hit that category at all throughout this event. It's about as high as we'll get today and in the next few days. All driven by that northwest wind. It's one of those drawbacks to this dry weather. In the summertime, with all the wildfires taking place in Canada, we get that northwest flow, which produces dry weather. We get the backside of it, which would be the smoke, which still is going to be lingering in our area for the next couple of days. We zoom in here in New York State. You can see the impacts for much of central New York today, tomorrow, even into parts of Wednesday. This is an early week type of situation. Later on this week, we're going to see more south winds kick in. That's going to whisk away some of that smoke, especially by eventually Thursday and Friday. Still, though, sunshine, muggy conditions today. Temperatures in the 80s by this afternoon, so it warms up pretty quick. But just a recap, though, too, of what you can do in a situation with all this smoke. Turn on those ACs with the recirculation on, or even just turn on the fans with your air conditioner. You don't really need the AC on as long as it's recirculating. Close the windows, and again, limit excessive time outdoors. So we're looking at the Skycast. It's completely dry today. Highs in the mid-80s. By tonight, lows fall into the 60s, and then tomorrow there could be an isolated downpour, mainly outside of central New York, Lewis County, maybe even parts of Delaware County, Sullivan County, but here locally mainly quiet. Wednesday is a better shot for a few downpours firing up, mainly in north of the Thruway and the higher elevations in the foothills, the Adirondacks, and parts of Tug Hill. But again, much of the area remains dry. So isolated showers and storms tomorrow and Wednesday. Thursday, same story, but maybe some lingering drizzle. Then Friday, it dries up again with no rain expected. Sunshine, temperatures in the 80s, and in fact, it's in the low 80s for much of the next 5 to 7 days as so far this great August weather continues on. Again, the only thing we're really worried about is that wildfire smoke, and we'll continue to track the levels throughout the morning, afternoon, and evening today.
Yeah, that combined with the low-lying clouds this morning. Boy,
yeah. It looks so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, dim out there. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow me once again. And thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Libitor. Another nice morning out there on this Monday. And Eric, as we mentioned, we're in the midst of this amazing stretch of weather, which keeps on going.
Yeah, that's right. It was dry all weekend long. It's dry again today. Plenty of sun. However, the sun might look a little different today. I'll show you why here in a second. Here's a look at the air quality alerts in effect early this morning. This is covering pretty much all of New York State. First time in a while we've seen this widespread gray mapping here. And again, the category goes into the unhealthy for some to unhealthy category. This is not full-blown panic mode, but this is just a heads up that the air is going to be still very, very hazy. And for some of you, especially those who have underlying conditions, for example, asthma and whatnot, that it might be difficult to breathe. So just limit your time outdoors, limit excessive time outdoors, I should say. And on top of that, avoid strenuous activities. Here's what I mean by the sunshine getting impacted today. There's that haze, that wildfire smoke way out in the distance. Look at the color of the sun. Well, it might be difficult to see from your TV screen, but it's actually red. And this red sunrise driven by the amount of pollutants in the atmosphere basically filtering out all the brighter or at least bluish, yellowish lights and colors and only leaving red out there. So that's going to impact the viewing of the sun, at least early this morning. Temperatures, though, still seasonable in the low to mid 50s this morning, and then the radar, of course, looking dry. Plenty of sun today, so as Gary mentioned, that nice stretch continues, but just a heads up, it's going to be hazy out there, lots of smoke out in the atmosphere. We'll track that, plus how long it lasts, and when the rainfall, if any rain arrives in the next few days, coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. It is the start of a critical week.
Omni, we've got your back.
This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise on this Monday morning. What a great weekend we had. Lots of sunshine. Yes, we started to see that smoke move in yesterday, and we are going to see a whole lot more move in throughout the day today. But we'll focus on that wildfire smoke in a little bit. For now, let's showcase an amazing shot right here in our Photo of the Day segment. This one taken in Fairfield. Shout out to those of you watching from Fairfield this morning. Overlooking the Valley Fog, sent in by Mark Minter, a frequent submitter here at WKTV. And what a great shot here of all of that fog out in the distance, the Farn in the foreground there, and just amazing view right there of that valley fog. If you have a photo like this you'd like to share with us, send it to the link right there on the top of your screen, wktv.com/weather/pics, to potentially show something like this: sunshine, stars, beautiful scenes of summertime, and especially coming up in a month or two, fall foliage. I can't wait for that season to showcase all the great fall foliage we have here locally. So again, we're talking a bit more about that wildfire smoke, the sunshine today, and the potential for rain showers the next few days in a few minutes. Gary?
I think I can wait a while for a fall forecast.
I can wait, but I also can't wait. It's a bit of a mix for me.
Yeah, that's for sure. Eric, thanks. Well, a man from Wyoming.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
The time now is 6:40.
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. We're still tracking wildfire smoke over parts of our area. In fact, pretty much all of New York State. We have a great shot of it right here in Oneonta. We take a live view outside. The sunrise, very hazy, almost a reddish sunrise. If you have any photos of that, those of you amateur, professional photographers, send it to weather@wktv.com. We'd love to see all those shots you've taken of that sun this morning. But you can still see that thick haze out there. And this is something we're closely tracking throughout the morning, afternoon, and evening. We are in the unhealthy for some to unhealthy category, right around the middle there. But I put the arrow here next to unhealthy since that's what we're currently at this morning. An AQI, or air quality index, of 153 in Utica. Just in that category, barely. And what that means is it's not a situation where you don't want to spend any time outside. For example, that'd be in the purple category. But it's one of those days where you want to limit excessive time outdoors. For example, not spending hours outside, maybe doing strenuous work. If you can avoid it, I recommend just avoiding that excessive time outdoors. Spend time inside, especially those of you who are unusually sensitive, those who have underlying conditions, for example, asthma. All that is something that could be triggered by a day like today. We can see that wildfire smoke coming in from central Canada, and we're tracking that radar, or at least the satellite imagery, early this morning. And there are a lot of fires, especially in the central provinces up in Canada. And as that smoke gets pulled its way south and east from the prime wind conditions, that's how it affects us here locally. We can see it right here impacting us today, for parts of tomorrow, and even parts of Wednesday as well. By the end of the week, our thoughts are the south wind will begin to lift north, and it's going to whisk away some of that smoke. So it's an early week type of situation. 56 degrees to start your day today, slightly muggy, and today's highs climb into the low 80s. So there's still plenty of sunshine, so really the only impact today would just be the air quality. So what can you do? Well, there are a few things. For one, again, limit time outdoors, as you can see here. But the main thing is you can turn on air conditioning or recirculation in your cars as well as in your homes, and that can limit any outdoor air from getting inside. Also can filter out the air here locally. Today's highs, mid-80s, again, lots of sunshine. By tomorrow, an isolated downpour outside of central New York. We can see them firing up here and there. Then, as we head into Wednesday, same story. Mainly dry, and you can see some of those downpours firing up, mainly north of the Thruway. Those of you in the North Country, you might be dealing with a thunderstorm or two Wednesday evening. So, isolated storm Tuesday, Wednesday, even into parts of Thursday. Then we dry out again Friday into the weekend. So far looking nice, sunny and warm. Temperatures in the 80s. So again, really the only impact we're tracking for the next couple of days is that air quality concern. And we'll continue to follow those numbers, the latest on air quality, both this morning, throughout the day, and over the next couple of days.
Eric, thank you. Now, no damage. Switch gears to something much lighter. The weather meteorologist Eric Gage joining us. And Eric, we're starting to see that wildfire smoke finally down here, pretty substantial.
Yeah, look at this. This is a scene from downtown Utica, and you actually can't really see the city
yeah.
from how hazy it is. Let's take a look at this right here in full screen. There's a look at the wildfire smoke, and that's just from our vantage point here on Smith Hill. You head down into Utica. This is interesting as well. You can see the haze between here on the Nexus Center and all the way to the downtown area near Genesee Street. So that's lets you know just how impactful that air quality is today. In fact, on the categories right here, the scale, we're at an unhealthy category, AQI or air quality index of over 150. We're at the 150, 160 range right now, which is not extremely high, but you want to limit excessive time outdoors, as well as you want to limit any strenuous activities. So just take it easy if you're outside today with the air quality the way it is right now. It's not extremely hazardous where you don't want to spend any time outside, but just a heads up today. The temperatures already in the upper 70s, low 80s. We're going to be remaining in the low 80s for much of the day today, cooling down to the 60s tonight. Now, we're going to track what's going on with that wildfire smoke, where the worst of it is, if we're going to see more of it, and potential for rain heading into the next few days, coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. That thick haze caused by smoke from more than 700 Canadian wildfires has prompted air quality alerts in 10 U.S. states. Meanwhile, firefighters in Utah, Arizona, and California are all battling wildfires themselves. NBC's Shaquille Brewster has the very latest now from Chicago.
Hi there. Well, air quality alerts here in Chicago officially expired overnight, but despite that, when you look toward downtown, you still see somewhat of a hazy skyline as that Canadian wildfire smoke moves through the Midwest and is now headed east. But multiple states out west dealing with some wildfires of their own. Today, actually marking 1 month since the start of the Dragon Bravo fire that's closed down the northern rim of the Grand Canyon and has now become the largest fire in the United States, burning more than 116,000 acres. Meanwhile, a fire in central California tearing through some 40,000 acres. 3 people there injured, hundreds of evacuations as well. And then when you look toward the southeast, we're seeing those heavy and severe summer storms. One person actually killed from some flash flooding when his car was washed off the road. The threat of that flooding, the threat of those storms continuing into today as the combination of wicked and dangerous severe weather continues. Back to you.
NBC's Shaquille Brewster reporting from Chicago. Well, the boil water order that
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, the main story, some haze from wildfire smoke. And coming up in our next half hour, I'm going to dive into where it's originating from. We've got some satellite imagery coming in right now. But let's talk about the air quality here locally right now for today. And we are in the unhealthy for sensitive groups and unhealthy categories. You can see that scale right here. And there's a variety of colors here, most notably when we get into this red, purple, and eventually brown area, that's where things get impactful. Now, in 2023, with all that wildfire smoke, we were in this range, very unhealthy to hazardous. So we are in the red to orange. So it's not that high, but you can still see where much of the Great Lakes area and Northeast getting impacted by this wildfire smoke. It's getting carried from the Manitoba and Saskatchewan provinces in Canada, and there's a lot of fires up there. And it is carrying that smoke to the Northeast through that northwest wind. We zoom in here. Today, it's impacting our air quality. Same thing for tomorrow. This is going to gradually end, though, by later on this week, with the winds shifting more to the south. That'll lift away a lot of that smoke outside of our area. So what can you do in a situation like this? So for most of us, this is not going to cause any harm, but it might cause irritation. It might cause difficulty breathing. You want to limit excessive time outdoors. That's the key here. Obviously, those of you who have underlying conditions, you want to limit as much as time outdoors as possible. But something else you can do as well, air conditioning units in your houses, even though you don't need the AC on, can also just filter and recirculate the air. You can leave those on, close the windows, you're okay with that. In your car, you press the recirculation button. It's a little rotating circles there, and that'll recirculate the air and prevent outside air from coming in. Downtown Utica, you can see that haze out there right now. The temperature sitting at 75 degrees. Still humid conditions out there. And throughout the day today, those highs climb into the low 80s. That haze is going to reduce some of that daytime heating a little bit by a few degrees. So I'm thinking low to maybe mid-80s maximum. Then by tonight, a few wispy clouds pass over us. Tomorrow morning, a dry start. This time, due to that shift in wind direction here and there, we're going to see a few pop-up showers fire up due to higher elevations. Catskills, Adirondacks, Tug Hill, highest chances for showers and downpours. Mohawk Valley looking mainly dry. Then by Wednesday, a different story here. We're going to see the chance of a few showers and thunderstorms fire up in the Adirondacks in northern Ada County, northern Herkimer County, this zone up here and north. Again, due to that increased elevation. And so not everyone sees them, but isolated storms Tuesday and Wednesday, lingering shower Thursday, and we dry out again Friday and into the coming weekend. But overall, it's not too bad temperature-wise, seasonable in the low to mid-80s. And still, again, today and tomorrow, we're tracking that wildfire smoke. It's not dangerous, but you do want to limit excessive time outdoors today.
Can see it pretty well.
Yeah, look how hazy it is.
Yeah, Eric, thanks. Well, now to that growing battle. Meteorologist Eric Gage joining us, and the smoke from the Canadian wildfires is definitely permeating us like it hasn't in the past few days.
Yeah, this time it's really impacting not only visibility, air quality, here to the surface. In fact, you can see, or you actually can't even really see Utica outside. Let's take a look right here at our tower cam. Lots of haze out there. 75 the temperature, so what the haze is actually doing is limiting our daytime highs, which will be likely in the low 80s versus potentially mid-80s we were expecting over the past few days. Downtown Utica, you can see the haze a bit impactful. You can barely even see sections of farther east of Utica. And the air quality is actually in an unhealthy category. First time in quite a while we've hit this stage. We're actually right in the fringe of unhealthy for some and unhealthy. Basically, orange and red is that area that is not common here. It's not dangerous, but you do want to limit your time outdoors, or at least limit anything excessive in terms of if you want to go for a run. I don't recommend doing that today, or even doing any extensive yard work. Just avoid that. Temperatures in the 70s this afternoon, and we climb into the low 80s by this evening, cooling down into the 60s tonight with dry weather. We are going to be following again where those wildfires are coming from with satellite imagery, plus how long that smoke lasts, and if any rain is on the way, coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. The groundbreaking Emmy and Golden Globe.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, still hazy from that wildfire smoke impacting air quality here locally. And I want to show you guys where those fires are coming from, because you always see that haze and it's always mysterious. You know, why is there all that smoke? Why is there all those fires? Why aren't they getting put out? Well, here's the answer. Here's a look at where those fires are. They're so big, we can see them from our satellite. See all those little pockets of orange? Those are wildfires, and they are in parts of the Manitoba and Saskatchewan provinces in Canada. Now, if you don't know about the topography of this section of Canada, needless to say, picture miles and miles and miles of wilderness, a few lakes, marshland. It is not an easily accessible area. So imagine trying to fight fires in extremely remote areas. That's the big challenge with these current wildfires in, again, these sections of Canada. So that's why there are so many fires and why they are difficult to put out. So in the meantime, we're getting affected by it with that northwest wind. High pressure is allowing that air to sink toward the surface and giving us poor air quality. We're in the orange and red today, so it's not like the purple and maroon or even purple and brown that we saw in 2023 from those wildfires up north. But again, you get the right conditions, the smoke gets carried right from Canada into central New York. We zoom in here, we can see the impacts affecting us today, parts of tomorrow too, and even early Wednesday. We're thinking that that south wind that moves in by the middle of the week is going to lift away some of that wildfire smoke outside of our area. So what can you do in a situation where you've got potentially dangerous air quality outside? Now, I'm using the word dangerous. It's not actually extremely dangerous. Just you want to limit time outdoors is the key here. Don't run. Don't do a lot of outdoor excessive activities. Another thing too, if you have an air conditioning unit, either in your house or in your car, you can recirculate the air. There's a recirculation button in your cars, and ACs, at least window ACs in your houses or apartments, can also recirculate the air. So if you close the windows, it's safe to use those things today. You can still see that haze out there. Downtown Utica, it is a hazy afternoon. Temperature is 75 degrees with some slightly humid conditions. Now, aside from the wildfire smoke, what else are we dealing with this week? Well, we got temperatures in the 80s today, dry weather. Tonight, clouds roll their way in. By tomorrow, we'll start to see a few isolated downpours fire up in the highest of elevations, the Catskills, Adirondacks, Tug Hill. Those are the best shot for sudden downpours. Then Wednesday is a better shot for that as we head into the afternoon in the higher elevations north, Adirondacks, Tug Hill area, as well as parts of northern United County. So this zone north of Mohawk Valley, likely to see a thunderstorm, but it's isolated. You head south, really no rain or even any storms are expected. But we head into Thursday, still some lingering drizzle. Friday, drying out entirely. And it remains dry heading into the weekend for now. So we'll keep a close eye on the air quality for the next couple of days. Again, that's the big story here. And just, again, limit your excessive time outdoors and just take it easy. Don't be doing something like trying to train for a marathon.
Yeah, that's for sure. Good advice.
Yeah.
Well, several children.
Tasks with Chief Meteorologist Bill Partis, and it's alert day because of this wildfire smoke.
Yeah, the air quality ticked up to 150, so it becomes a little bit uncomfortable to be outdoors. We're not asking people to avoid outdoors, but you want to avoid strenuous activity. If you do this for long periods of time, you might notice the air quality here. It's not as hazardous as June of 2023. The air quality index that day was 400. Again, it's currently 150. But again, it's also one of those days where you just want to keep that in mind if you're going to be outdoors. This air quality doesn't change over the next 24 hours. We will be dealing with this for the short term. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Eastern Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Things look quiet. 81 degrees, sunny skies. Again, it's going to stay hazy as we head throughout this evening. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 70s. Should be a beautiful sunset tonight due to the wildfire smoke. Should be very orange or red. We are tracking the wildfire smoke, where it's headed, when the air quality will improve. Look at the forecast coming up. James, back to you.
Bill, thank you. A couple of traffic alerts starting today. First in the
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening. We are now in alert mode, and here's why. The air quality decreased today from the unhealthy for some category to the unhealthy category, and that's where we kind of choose the benchmark here between an alert day and a non-alert day. It's not in the worst category. This is not June of 2023. And so what does that mean? Well, let's kind of break this down for you. Do you want to avoid spending time outdoors? For most people, no. For the average person, it's okay to be outside. You don't need to wear a mask. The levels are not that high. However, things you might want to consider not doing: going for a run, playing sports outside. If you do that over long periods of time, you might notice the air quality. Keeping windows shut, it's just a good idea. We are under this long duration period of time where the air quality is not great, so that would be a good idea. You don't have to, but The folks that really need to be concerned about this are folks that have underlying health conditions, the elderly, young children. These groups of people are more susceptible to changes in air quality. Where is this coming from? This wide shield of smoke continues to move in from Canada. There's been many acres of wildfires that continue to burn. A lot of these are in the northern and western part of Canada, but the jet stream has carried this smoke to our area. Unfortunately, the smoke is going to linger for the foreseeable future. At least for the next 24 hours, we're expecting the levels to remain the same. We're not expecting any big changes. Hopefully, the numbers go down a little bit. But again, unfortunately, with not very much wind in the atmosphere, things are looking to generally stay the same for the next couple of days. We can't go out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days here because of the source region for the smoke. That's very important to see if this is going to continue to impact us or not. But at least for the short term, yes, this is something that is going to continue. Reminder, you can always get weather information by downloading our Storm Tracker 2 weather app. It's been a beautiful day otherwise. Temperatures made it into the low 80s. Westmoreland 82 degrees, Deansboro 78, Sherburne 84, Cooperstown 79. We've got a dome of high pressure in control of our weather. Again, very light winds in the atmosphere tonight. Overnight lows drop down into the low 60s. Tomorrow looks like another beautiful day. It's going to be hazy. Temperatures will climb into the low 80s. Plenty of sunshine. There could be an isolated shower in the Adirondacks, maybe rumble of thunder. And then the weather stays pretty quiet here as we head into tomorrow night. On Wednesday, there's going to be a very small chance of a pop-up shower or storm. Partly cloudy tonight, low of 60. Hazy skies tomorrow. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. The alert day continues tomorrow. Again, similar levels of poor air quality. Wednesday, passing shower storm 83. The weather warms up and it looks dry as we head into the weekend. Temperatures in the upper 80s.
Bill, thank you.
Turbulence is one of the
Experience the haze in the sky. That's pollution coming from the Canadian wildfires.
Now, the DEC issued an air quality health advisory for all of central New York, and they say that the air pollution levels have been on the rise throughout the day. The air is polluted with that fine particulate matter, which can make it harder to breathe. News Channel 2's Nolan Hyman has some ways that you can protect yourself from the polluted air.
New York State is under an air quality health advisory from the DEC until midnight tonight. Central New York pollution levels are expected to rise throughout the day and drop by midnight. The pollution comes from the Canadian wildfires. Smoke from these fires contains fine particulate matter, which can be bad for our health.
It could make it a little bit more difficult to breathe. They could tire a little bit easier. So people shouldn't overexert themselves when there are higher pollutant levels.
Especially for sensitive groups, like those with heart or lung disease, children, and the elderly. These particles could put more stress on their bodies and puts them more at risk of health issues.
The finer the particle, the more of a the more of an impact it could have. So the finer the particle, they would enter the lungs, and then possibly could actually travel into the bloodstream over time. Just make sure you get into an air-conditioned area periodically to cool, stay hydrated, and again, minimize your time outside to the best of your ability.
Right now, the air quality index is at 115, but the DEC expects the smoke won't disappear anytime soon.
With this warm weather patterns that we are anticipated seeing, we're going to see smoke and spikes in smoke in central regions tomorrow.
With this much pollution in the air, experts say it is best to limit your time outside if possible. Reporting from Oneida County, Nolan Hyman, News Channel 2.
Meteorologist Bill Curtis tracking the alert day today.
Yeah, we're talking about the poor air quality. It just hit 150, the air quality index. And this is all coming from Canada, where more than 6 million acres of forest have burned so far this year. That's more than twice the 10-year average. Of course, the jet stream is carrying all this smoke in our direction, causing the air quality to be poor. Let's talk about the air conditioner units. We're getting a lot of questions about this. Is it safe to operate the air conditioner? For most of us, the answer is yes. Window units typically use indoor air to cool the air, along with central air units, so they are okay. The ones you got to watch out for are those portable AC units, the ones with the big hose that attach to the window. Sometimes these pull in outdoor air. Again, if you're not sure, it's always best to check with your manufacturer just to be sure. But again, that's the general words of wisdom here tonight. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. The weather has been quiet. Temperatures are going to stay in the 80s over the next several days. A very consistently warm stretch of weather ahead. If you are going to take your dog out for a walk, maybe make it a shorter walk this evening. Temperatures will cool off into the 70s. Tonight's featured dog, Amazing Grace from Whitesboro. If you want to be part of this, head to Skycast WKTV on Facebook. This is brought to you by Nissan. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. Pop singer Ryan Cabrera is bringing
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening. We continue to keep an eye on air quality. We've hit an air quality index of 150, so that puts us into the unhealthy category. It's not as bad as what we dealt with in June of 2023. The air quality then was over 400, but still, we are in that category where you might want to make some changes in what you're doing. A live look in Oneonta, 79 degrees. You can see the haze in the sky. Again, the air quality isn't great. It's not bad enough where we're asking people to avoid spending time outdoors. By all means, go outside and enjoy the outdoors, especially with such nice weather here. It's the things that you want to avoid would be, say, go for a run or go outside and play sports. In these situations, when you're exerting your body, you might notice this. If you're also susceptible, if you already have underlying health conditions, if you're elderly or young children, that group of folks will be having a higher impact with this air quality. Another thing everybody can do is consider keeping the windows shut. Again, just a good practice here, even though the air quality isn't bad. Just over the course of time, we're looking at 2, 3, maybe 4 days of poor air quality, and best to keep that out of your house. Do you need to wear a mask outdoors? No, it's not quite that bad. So you look at the bigger picture, the wildfire smoke is just going to linger here. There's very little wind in the environment. And this is going to continue for the next several days, at least the next 2 to 3 days. It's difficult to go beyond that weather-wise with our forecast models because so much of this is dependent on what's happening upstream, specifically what's happening with those fires. Like mentioned, there's already been over 6 million acres of forest burned in Canada this year, which is way above average, and that's one of the reasons why we're dealing with this yet again. Reminder, you can always get weather alerts to your phone by downloading the Storm Tracker 2 weather app. Temperatures out there this evening, warm, Whitesboro 82, Micah New Hartford 81, Barneveld 78, Fairfield 83, Cooperstown, Stewart 80 degrees, Westford 76. The weather looks very quiet. We've got a dome of high pressure and control, light winds, bringing plenty of sunshine. Again, the downside of this is that the weather itself doesn't allow for the smoke to disperse because the winds are just too light. Tonight, overnight lows will drop down into the 60s. Tomorrow, a beautiful day, lots of sunshine. Could see an isolated shower in the Adirondacks, but again, the rest of the area looks dry. Tomorrow night, overnight lows drop down into the 60s. Wednesday looks warm, and there's going to be a small chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm Wednesday afternoon with high temperatures in the mid-80s. Tonight, partly cloudy, an overnight low of 60. Hazy skies tomorrow. Warm temperatures in the low 80s. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Again, our alert day will continue through tomorrow with similar amounts of air quality issues. Wednesday, showers and thunderstorms 83. Thursday and Friday, partly sunny, temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Looking warm for the weekend with temperatures close to 90. So look ahead to Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll be right back.
An alert day because of the wildfire haze. Here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis.
Yeah, the air quality is not great. We hit 150, the air quality index. So if you are very sensitive to this, you're going to want to limit your time outdoors. For most people, it's not bad to be outdoors, but again, we're up to that point where it's starting to matter. The levels, by the way, in June of 2023, the air quality index hit 400, so it was a lot worse then. But still, if you are sensitive to this, something to keep in mind here. Unfortunately, this smoke is not going anywhere over the next couple of days. The winds are extremely light in the atmosphere. Live look at the Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Again, it looks dry. 81 degrees, sunny skies. We're going to have a really nice and very colorful sunset this evening due to the wildfire smoke. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s this evening. We're tracking the air quality and when things could change. A look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. We're going to talk more about that wildfire.
DEC issued an air quality health advisory for all of central New York, and they say that air pollution levels have been on the rise throughout the day. That air is polluted with a fine particulate matter, which can make it harder to breathe. News Channel 2's Nolan Hyman. Some ways you can protect yourself from this polluted air.
New York State is under an air quality health advisory from the DEC until midnight tonight. Central New York pollution levels are expected to rise throughout the day and drop by midnight. The pollution comes from the Canadian wildfires. Smoke from these fires contains fine particulate matter, which can be bad for our health.
And that could make it a little bit more difficult to breathe. They could tire a little bit easier. So people shouldn't overexert themselves when there are higher pollutant levels.
Especially for sensitive groups, like those with heart or lung disease, children, and the elderly.
First thing would be not to exert yourself too much outside when you are indoors. Limit your time outdoors. Stay inside a greater amount of time, if possible, of course. And again, when you're outside, if you happen to have asthma and you have an inhaler, I'd suggest just having it with you in case breathing becomes a little difficult.
These particles could put more stress on their bodies and puts them more at risk of health issues.
The finer the particle, the more of the more of an impact it could have. So the finer the particle, they would enter the lungs, and then possibly could actually travel into the bloodstream over time. Just make sure you get into an air-conditioned area periodically to cool, stay hydrated, and again, minimize your time outside to the best of your ability.
Right now, the air quality index is at 115, but the DEC expects the smoke won't disappear anytime soon.
With this warm weather patterns that we're anticipated seeing, we're going to see smoke and spikes in smoke in central regions tomorrow.
With this much pollution in the air, experts say it is best to limit your time outside if possible. Reporting from Oneida County, Nolan Hyman, News Channel 2.
Boy, the
WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening. The air quality has decreased to a point where we've got this Storm Tracker 2 alert in effect. This is going to continue through tomorrow. We've got the haze outside. You can see it from our Oneida camera. And again, many of us are going to see a very beautiful sunset tonight. The wildfire smoke coming in from Canada. But again, today we've now dropped into the unhealthy category with the air quality index hitting 150. So what does that mean? It means you're going to want to limit your time outdoors, especially if you're sensitive to this. For most people, it's not bad to be outdoors, but if you're doing some hard physical activity, you might notice the change in air quality. Again, check it out. This haze that we're seeing, the wildfire smoke that's coming from Canada, there's been more than 6 million acres that have burned so far this year, which is more than double the 10-year average. So again, with today's poor air quality, you can go outside. We're not asking people to avoid the outdoors, but we are asking folks to consider what they're doing outside. Again, avoid strenuous activity. It is a good idea to keep windows shut, again, mainly because we're dealing with a long duration air quality issue. We think that this is going to be for a couple of days. It's probably a good idea to do that. You don't need to wear a mask outdoors unless you have underlying health issues. Elderly, young children also tend to be more sensitive to air quality issues. Again, something to consider here for the next couple of days. And yes, I did say the next couple of days because there's very little wind in the atmosphere, which means this smoke is just going to kind of linger in central New York for the foreseeable future. I'm hoping that by later in the week, the smoke levels decrease and the air quality improves, but I think it's going to be a long process this time around. A reminder, you can always get weather alerts on your phone by downloading our Storm Tracker 2 app. Wrightsboro, 82 degrees, Mike and New Hartford, 81. Fairfield, 83. Jeff and Mohawk, 79. Stewart and Cooperstown, 80 degrees. Aside from the air quality, it's really nice weather. The weather's been dry, it's been warm. We'll see a continuation of this. Tonight, we'll drop down into the 60s. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine. Temperatures climb into the 80s, but again, we'll have that thick haze from wildfire smoke. That'll continue. Very small chance of a pop-up storm in the Adirondacks tomorrow afternoon. Weather looks quiet tomorrow night. On Wednesday, a very small chance of a pop-up shower or storm region-wide. At least the chance will be region-wide. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. Partly cloudy tonight, low of 60. Hazy skies tomorrow. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. Again, air quality issues will continue. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Showers, thunderstorms Wednesday. They'll be possible. 83. The weather stays dry through from Thursday into the weekend. And look at those temperatures. We warm up. We'll be in the upper 80s as we head into the weekend.
Well, thank you.
Still to come. On first, we're going to begin with an alert day for tomorrow, not because of any storms, but because of the air quality. Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis starts us off tonight. Where do we stand?
Well, it hasn't changed very much throughout today.
Okay.
And the problem is we're looking at an air quality of 153, which is right on the threshold where it starts to become a problem. This is not June of 2023, so it's not quite to that level. But if you're outside over long periods of time, especially doing strenuous activity, you might notice the poor air quality. If you're sensitive to this, specifically young children, elderly, it's not really great to be outdoors. And again, this is all coming from wildfire smoke in Canada. 6 million acres have burned this year, which is more than double the 10-year average, and the jet stream pushes all that smoke in our direction. Something to keep in mind going to bed tonight, can you turn on the air conditioner? For most of us, the answer is yes. AC window units and central air are generally safe. You just want to make sure that the air is coming from the indoors, and again, a lot of these units work that way. The one thing you've got to watch, those portable AC units, the ones that have a hose attached to the window, they tend to bring in outdoor air. They tend to have a better chance of doing that compared to some of the other units. So again, for most of us, should be okay to run that tonight. Live look at the Airco Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Current temperature 67 degrees, clear skies. Not all that warm tonight. Should be pretty comfortable, but again, probably keep the windows closed. Run the air conditioner if the house is too warm. Air quality will continue to be an issue tomorrow. We'll take a look at if there's any relief in sight from that. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back.
Bill, thank you. This was a look at our tower cam late this afternoon. The DEC, State Department of Health, issuing an air quality advisory, as Bill said, for tomorrow as well. Does that mean don't go outside? No. However, as Bill mentioned, sensitive groups like those with maybe heart or lung disease, children, the elderly, the recommendation is limited exposure.
First thing would be not to exert yourself too much outside when you are indoors. Limit your time outdoors. Stay inside a greater amount of time, if possible, of course. And again, when you're outside, if you happen to have asthma and you have an inhaler, I'd suggest just having it with you in case breathing becomes a little difficult.
With this warm weather patterns that we are anticipated seeing, we're going to see smoke and spikes in smoke in central regions tomorrow.
Best way to stay up to date on the air quality is with our team of meteorologists. And if you're out and about, check our News Channel 2 weather app. New tonight, patience and...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening. We are in alert mode due to the air quality. It has hit the unhealthy category. And again, that's the reason why we're under the alert mode. This is not as bad as June of 2023. We were in the very unhealthy category. So what does this mean? This is not a black and white issue. We're kind of in this gray zone where the general public doesn't have to avoid going outdoors. It's not that bad. You don't need to wear a mask either outdoors. But for sensitive groups, you may want to take some precautions. Those that are young, elderly, or if you have underlying health issues, you may want to limit your time outdoors tomorrow. I think everybody should avoid a strenuous activity outdoors, anything like sports, running. If you do that tomorrow, you're really going to feel it with the air quality being not great. Also, too, keep the windows shut. Why not? We're under this long duration of time, thinking multiple days where the air quality is not great. And you just generally want to avoid this stuff if you can. It's not great to breathe in, even if it is in relatively small amounts. What are we talking about? We're talking about wildfire smoke from Canada. Take a look at the satellite image from earlier today. You can clearly see this is what smoke looks like from outer space. Our weather satellites can track this. A lot of this is coming from Manitoba, Canada. It's been exceptionally dry. 6 million acres have burned, which is more than double the 10-year average. And with the winds aligning into the northwest, this is what's carrying the smoke in. And I do have bad news on this front. The winds are very light, which means this smoke is just going to sit and linger for the next couple of days. I'm not really seeing any short-term progress here, although it should get a little bit less smoky by the time we head into late Wednesday. You can always get weather alerts to your phone by downloading our Storm Tracker 2 weather app. Bigger picture, well, the weather's quiet. It's unfortunate that the air quality issues are here because the weather patterns are exceptionally nice. We've got high pressure in control, dry conditions. Tonight, overnight lows drop down into the 60s. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, hazy. There's a slight chance of a shower in the Adirondacks, should make it into the mid-80s. Tomorrow night, the weather looks dry. We'll do this again Wednesday, sunshine. There is the chance of a pop-up shower storm on Wednesday afternoon. Another warm day with temperatures in the mid-80s. Partly cloudy tonight, low of 60. Tomorrow, hazy. Very warm, temperatures in the mid-80s. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Again, our Storm Tracker 2 alert continues tomorrow. We're expecting the same amounts of air quality. Wednesday, things hopefully get a little bit better. If not, we'll extend the alert day, 83. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, dry. Look at that. That is an exceptional weather pattern. You want to talk about a nice summer, what a lot of people think is a nice summer. Sunshine, dry, and warm, but not too hot.
No, and you know, we haven't been, what do we have, 7 days over 90 so far this year?
7 days over 90.
All right, we've had hotter, so this is a nice stretch.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
We'll take it. All right, thank you, Bill. Coming up next, but we are following an alert day for your Tuesday, not because of any storms, but because of the air quality.
Yeah.
And Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis here to start things off for us tonight. And it's not what we dealt with a couple of years ago, 2023.
Yeah, but it could still be problematic. And this alert day is not to signify the worst case scenario, but the air quality index hit 150 this afternoon. That's at that point where people, especially sensitive people, really start to feel this.
You can tell.
Yeah, you can
feel
tell.
it.
You can see it in the sky. You can see the haze. And if you're doing strenuous activity, even healthy people will start to notice this. So just be careful out there. This wildfire smoke originated from Canada, which there's been millions of acres that have been on fire this year. And the jet stream is pushing all this smoke in our direction. By the way, tonight, for those of you who were concerned about air conditioners, is it okay to use? The answer is yes for most of them. AC window units, central air. Most of these units draw air from inside already. So if it's doing that, it's not going to draw in any air outside. And it's not going to cause any problems. The ones you have to watch, those portable AC units, the ones with the hose that attaches to the window, sometimes they can bring in outdoor air. And again, that's what we're trying to avoid here with air quality issues. You get live look at the air-filled battery, Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. It's quiet, it's dry. Temperatures are in the 60s, 68 degrees, clear skies, calm winds. Again, tonight, you may not even need the air conditioner, maybe just a fan. We are going to cool off. Temperatures will be in the low 60s here. Nice weather aside from the air quality issues, but we are going to track what the air quality looks like tomorrow. I've got to look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. This was a look at our tower cam late this afternoon. The DEC, State Department of Health, issuing that air quality advisory, as Bill said, for tomorrow as well. Does that mean don't go outside? No, but if you are sensitive, like Bill said, with maybe you've got heart or lung disease, you have children you have to watch out for, the elderly. The recommendation is limit their exposure.
First thing would be not to exert yourself too much outside when you are indoors. Limit your time outdoors. Stay inside a greater amount of time, if possible, of course. And again, when you're outside, if you happen to have asthma and you have an inhaler, I'd suggest just having it with you in case breathing becomes a little difficult.
With this warm weather patterns that we are anticipated seeing, we're going to see smoke and spikes in smoke in central regions tomorrow.
Best way to stay up to date on the air quality is with our team of meteorologists. And if you are out and about, check our News Channel 2 weather app. New tonight, patience.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening, Central New York. We are tracking the air quality. Today, we hit 150. The air quality index hit 150, and that put us from the unhealthy for some to the unhealthy category. And that's why we have a Storm Tracker 2 alert. It's not as bad as what we dealt with in June of 2023. That was very unhealthy. We had the air quality index at 400. Actually, it was higher than 400. And that was just a really tough day to be outdoors. Now, tomorrow, the air quality is going to be about the same. So air quality index about 150, which means we've got to take precautions. It's not bad enough to avoid outdoors in general or wear a mask outdoors, unless you're really sensitive to this. Elderly, young children, people that have underlying health issues, respiratory issues, you may want to consider doing those too. But for the average person, you do want to avoid anything strenuous outdoors. If you're going for a run tomorrow, you're going to feel it in your lungs. Also, keep the windows shut. We just think that's a good recommendation considering the duration of this wildfire smoke. We think this could be a couple of days. And again, even if it's not enough where you're noticing this is not good to be breathing in for multiple days in a row. This is coming from wildfires in Canada. In fact, you can see this pretty clearly on the satellite image. This is the smoke that shows up on the satellite. We go backwards, we go upstream, and a lot of this is originating in Manitoba, Canada, at least the current fires, where it's been exceptionally dry. And this smoke is going to linger around for the next couple of days. Unfortunately, not a lot of wind in the atmosphere to carry any of this away. So we'll think the air quality will stay about the same through tomorrow, possibly into Wednesday too. Again, this is something we track at a very short-term basis. And again, we'll keep you posted. If we get any additional air quality alerts, you'll get them on the Storm Tracker 2 weather app. Again, we're recommending people check that out. Bigger picture, quiet weather, high pressure and control. The weather stays dry over the next couple of days. Tonight we'll drop down into the low 60s. Mostly sunny skies, hazy tomorrow. An isolated shower storm in the Adirondacks. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. Tomorrow night, the weather cools down into the 60s, mostly clear. Weather on Wednesday is the one and only day where we could see a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. That's few and far between, but there's a chance of that happening with temperatures in the mid-80s. Partly cloudy tonight, a low of 60. Hazy tomorrow, warm, temperatures in the mid-80s. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Pop-up shower storm is possible Wednesday, 83. The weather for the rest of the week looks pretty quiet. It's a very nice weather pattern. We just get rid of this air quality issue. Yeah. Temperatures will get into the upper 80s as we head into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Especially, you go out, I can mow the lawn any day. Just let's see if we can get rid of this air quality issue before you go out and do all that stuff.
If you have any flexibility, maybe later this week, hopefully things will become a little bit clearer.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bill. Coming up next.